Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Fist. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, world-famous juggler Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
After getting to watch this movie, great. How about yourself, Ozzy?
I'm doing well. Gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. We just recorded the Harold and Kumar episode that you saw last week, where I talked about Kevin from the bungalow, and my opinion has not changed. So if you're in Southern California and want to go to the bungalow in Corona Del Mar to pull a Greg and just massive dump over the bathroom, I'd greatly appreciate it, which is commensurate with the type of service you get from the bungalow in Corona Del Mar. All right, now, also with us, ladies and gentlemen, Flesh Wound producer Todd. How you doing, Todd? I know I mixed things up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a little excited because it's a special occasion today. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen, world famous juggler Greg Larson. How you doing?
Good.
Excellent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this week we do have the very distinct pleasure of reviewing and discussing the classic film Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones film. Todd, do you have a trailer available?
I do.
Is it a UHF thing or something like that? You gonna show me eating ribs or something? What's going on? I was in a good mood. You knew I was gonna be in a good mood.
So now I know you're always in a good mood when
your eyes are looking through things and you're trying to find something now. We aren't gonna get the trailer for Raiders of the Lost Ark, are we? We're gonna get something stupid. We're gonna me eating ribs or something.
No, but that does remind me. I do have something for you at the end. But here we go.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm excited.
All right.
For nearly 3,000 years, man has searched for the lost ark.
What a dick. He's just like, hey, dig that. I'm just going to watch.
Get to work.
That's something to be taken lightly. No one knows its secrets.
Jones, do you realize what the Ark is? It's a transmitter. It's a radio for speaking to God.
An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
The Ark, if it is their Eternis, then it is something that man was not meant to disturb.
It is protected by forces beyond imagination. It is desired above all treasures on earth by those who are good,
Trust me.
and those who are evil.
I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Let her go.
We have no time. If you still want the Ark, it is being loaded onto a truck for Cairo.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. A film from Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
Thank you, John Williams.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, okay, so full disclosure, not only did I watch this, but a couple days ago, I listened to it as I was driving on a road trip. Which we'll find out the end part of that road trip soon. But I was driving, I listened to this, and the score does so much by John Williams, especially at that time when you hadn't had the themes that sure, Star Wars was still new at that time, but the Indiana Jones theme, that whole score of this entire, not just Raiders of the Lost Ark, but across the movies are so just good and classic. And Just like to point out that the Indiana Jones theme is technically labeled the Raiders March. So that's why we're reviewing this movie today, is because football season is upon us, happening this week. So that's why we are reviewing this film, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I don't want to quell any confusion, because something that's really frustrating is, since Disney's purchased it, is that it's went from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is complete BS. This is the original title, where Raiders is the first word in the title. Let's not get things confused. All right, now, again.
Much like Raiders of the Lost football season.
Oh, come on! It hasn't even begun yet.
And, well, to be fair, I'm taking this blame off the Mounts. Paramount started doing that sometime in the late 90s.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for...
So it's probably
clarifying, but still,
Lucasfilm, go figure.
They started changing Star Wars stuff, and it's like, let's change stuff with Indiana Jones. Anyway.
Well, there is a change about it. I'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Or do you want to talk about it now?
we'll bring that up shortly. I got to get through the little statistics here. This film was released on June 12th, 1981, rated PG with a runtime of 115 minutes, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by, well, actually, we had the story by George Lucas and screenplay by Lawrence Kasdan, starring Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman, and John Rhys Davies. Initial thoughts on this. We'll not get into that part yet, Todd, but we'll get there soon. Initial thoughts on this. This was actually the of the series. I saw Temple of Doom and Last Crusade before I saw this one. Reason being is my dad used to record movies off of Cinemax, right? So they would show Temple of Doom and they would show Last Crusade, but they wouldn't show Raiders of the Lost Ark because that was probably the premium one, right? And with good reason. 2 years ago, this was re-released for the, was it 2 years ago? It was a 20th anniversary release, one of these anniversary releases for Raiders of the Lost Ark happening at AMC's, and I had a chance to actually see it in the theater that I did not have a chance to see it in 1981 because I wasn't born. And I came to the conclusion, this is the best film to watch in a movie theater. It has a way of,
I would argue with Jaws, but I get it.
Sure. I can, in terms of, I guess for me, then what I like, and if someone's not a fan of, because Jaws is horror, right?
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, it's
Temple of Doom.
I wouldn't say it's horror, but it's as much.
It's a summer blockbuster. It's literally the defining film of the genre, which, we're here with Raiders.
Yeah, but Raiders is more fun, in my opinion.
They're different, but
well, here's the thing. I don't want to get inside discussion with Jaws because I was about to go off on a tangent about Jaws, and that's not what we're here for. Maybe in the future, though. Unfortunately, we never got an Indiana Jones at SeaWorld that was in 3D. That would have been fun.
Do not disrespect Jaws 3D.
I didn't disrespect it. Dennis Quaid was in that one. It was a good one.
It's some of the best 3D I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, yeah, like the end. Okay, sorry with the sidetrack. Getting back to the Raiders of the Lost Ark again. So seeing it that time in the theater, for me, I completely glued to the screen from start to finish. It's almost as though I feel this film should be released in theaters probably once a year, just so that people have a chance to see it in theaters, because it felt like a completely different experience. Like it was, because I'm one that can kind of immerse myself and kind of lose myself in a movie and take it too seriously, as you guys know. 40-year-old dancing vampires and Once Bitten, I had a problem with, but in certain movies, I appreciate or I enjoy losing myself in and completely being in this world that it takes me in, and being in the theater was just kind of a perfect setting for it. For me, Jaws for you. I'm sorry, Todd, Jaws for you. Totally fine. I get it. But
not just Jaws. Honestly, a lot of that Spielberg era stuff, like seeing E.T. again on a big screen, just that different, when movies were more magic before just computers took everything over. There's something special about them.
Right.
Now, I would love to see Temple of Doom with the D-Box feature that That sounds like a delightful adventure.
For the mine ride, right?
Yes, yes, and even the part with the snow and
Oh
the
yeah, or the
ra-
the
yeah,
The rapid
That's
water
right.
after that, yeah.
yeah.
we'll talk about that one, I'm sure, soon enough.
We'll eventually get there, but we are
That's the
speaking
one.
specifically about Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the thing I loved so much about it, and I guess I'd have to go back to watch for this in Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, is because I was really paying attention to this when I saw this happen. I really started taking notes of the shots that Spielberg was taking and what would be focused and what would be the unfocused shots as to what was being said. So, for example, when you had the two people of the U.S. government talking about how Hitler is nuts on the subject, he's crazy about the occult. At that very moment that he says he's crazy about the occult, you actually see Indy's finger point like with on the book, that giant book where he opens it and it has all this information. So when you hear he's obsessed with the occult, you actually in the background see Indy's finger pointing to this giant book that probably is supposed to tell you, your subconscious, this book tells everything about the occult or whatnot. I also had some other stuff written down, and my initial thoughts started going into something else. So I'll let you guys have a shot at initial thoughts before I continue.
You know, I love Indiana Jones. One of my favorite franchises of all time. There is not a film in the series I dislike. Some I like more than others. But this time around, someone had mentioned something to me, and I watched it with this perspective. And I don't know how to feel about it because Indiana Jones could have prevented World War II had he not been around. So he is the cause of World War II. So if he wasn't around, they probably would have had confidence enough to have taken the Ark, because they would have found the Ark eventually. They would have taken it to Hitler and had the confidence not to check it beforehand, and Hitler would have died from the Ark. No World War II. So it's kind of his fault it happened.
I just want to interject that Belloc would have wanted to do the Hebrew ritual anyway, because when they're at the island, the oh my gosh, the German general, I can't remember his name, Dietrich, tells him, "I don't feel comfortable with this Jewish ritual," and Belloc convinces him, "Are you sure you want to go to Berlin and then find out only if you've accomplished, and then he basically convinces him, "No, we have to do this here." That's and kind of going
But
to what
it would
Todd
have gotten on the plane instead of having to go to the submarine, so it would have had a direct flight over there. So it wouldn't have made the same stops that it did with the interruptions. And even still, Indiana Jones had really no impact on the film outside of maybe the recovery at the end. Because if you say that they would have opened it at the one spot, still would have been opened at the one spot, even if Indiana Jones wasn't there. So either he stops Hitler or nothing changes because of Indiana Jones.
That's the thing. I'm of the team of you. If Indiana Jones doesn't exist, nothing in this movie changes at all.
Yeah,
Ark still gets open. They all still get fried. Nothing changes. Indiana Jones accomplishes nothing in this movie, like that changes anything.
I knew you had that thought, and that's why when I watched it, I try to pay attention for things. And there is one thing that is that's constant throughout the film, is that he's always saving Marion. He saves her from.
So nothing consequential. No Marion.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, but then at the same time, what the last movie has showed is that truly what Indy appreciates most is the love from Marion. Right? So if, okay, you can make that argument. Yeah, they would have found the Ark. I still think that even it might have not been at the island, I still truly believe the Ark would have been taken to some place to do this ritual before they sent it to Hitler. I do feel that is because I think Belloc would want to have opened it before giving it to Hitler. And for the reasons he said, I mean, to them, Jones was not on the island and they were going to do this anyway. And in terms of foreshadowing and illusion, the scene where Indy's about to shoot Belloc and then all the guys draw their guns, and all the kids come in to save him. Belloc says, next time it'll take more than children to save you. And it was actually the supernatural that saved him, because freed him from the things. And actually, Indy told Marion, keep your eyes shut, also saving her from this point because she would have had her eyes open. So
Yeah.
he
But
did.
I think
do
Marion
some-
would have been killed immediately. So
Yeah.
she would have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Nepal.
But
She
you know
would
what?
have
I'm a Willie guy. It's okay. Worth
Okay,
the loss.
right. I get this. But remember, and going back to what I was saying at the beginning, this film is not Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. This film is Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is just about the
Because
people.
Indy doesn't do
Right.
anything to change anything.
But hey, if you go in thinking, oh, it's just Raiders of the Lost Ark, I'm supposed to just pay attention to these people that are after this thing. Cool. You call it Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, then it's like, hey, wait a second. So
They need to switch it up to Luke Skywalker, The Empire Strikes Back. Thank God.
yes, exactly. Luke Skywalker's and his many adventures within Star Wars.
Although at least 2 Star Wars references in this film.
Yeah.
There was the plane that had, what was it, OB3PO or something? That was the plane number on the side.
Uh-huh.
And then both 3PO and R2 are in one of the tombs
And the
on
wall
the
carving.
engravings. Yeah.
Excellent. And funny cameo, the guy who name escapes him right now at the very end, guy with the mustache, heavier guy, says it's being researched by top men.
Yes.
He's also Jack Porkins from Star Wars.
Right.
He died in the X-Wing, unfortunately.
Oh,
Also
yeah.
played Eckhart in the 89 Batman.
Okay.
Nice.
Now, interesting notes on this. I'm sure you guys know, if you're watching the show, you have a high probability of knowing this fact. It is fairly well known, or maybe that's only in my own head, and Todd can tell me if this is the case. The scene when they are in one of the scenes when they're in the Cairo, and it's the basket chase when Indy's trying to find Marion from the basket, and the sword master comes out, the people part, and the music is going. He's playing along with the sword. The storyboards actually had that scene fighting out into a massive fight scene with just 2 of them. However, Harrison Ford got sick from what is reported as being a Tunisian taco and was violently ill the day they were supposed to film that scene. So Lucas had the idea, I believe it was Lucas had the idea of, well, why doesn't he just pull out a gun and shoot the guy? Which at first, after the fact, I'm glad that they ended up doing, because if you're watching this and you know he has a gun, why wouldn't he just pull out his gun to shoot the guy?
Right.
Which is why I appreciate the part in Temple of Doom, rather, when he sees 2 of them and he reaches for the gun and he doesn't have it. So I appreciate that. But just some more things.
That's why he made sure he had his gun in this one, because that happened to him first.
Exactly. Going into some favorite moments here, what I really liked were some of the shots here. Specifically, there was 2 specific, and these kind of seem like small because it's not like really much action, but in just in terms of like a shot, just really sold it to me, really put it over with me. First is the fight scene that happens in Marion's bar in Nepal when it's on fire and Indy's struggling with one of these guys, and Thought says, shoot them both. And Indy, they both turn and then shoot, and you see the silhouette get shot in the background, and then you hear that fall. I just the way that it looked, the angle of it, I liked it. And then what I also really liked was when they were escaping the plane, and just as Indy was getting Marion out of the cockpit, you actually see the fire spreading to the plane. So that's just like a small little detail that subconsciously to your brain registers as, oh my God, they're in danger, versus as if you had not seen that, it might not have had the same effect. But I mean, it's hard to pick favorites from this particular movie, because like the opening scene is such a classic moment in cinema history. I could see that opening scene over and over and over again. It's great. It's the perfect adage of show, don't tell. I mean, you don't hear Indy say anything throughout the beginning of this thing. You like 1 or 2 lines specifically, but less is more. right?
Yeah.
When you first see his face is after he whips the gun from the guy's wrist, which,
Mhm.
by the way, same actor as the eye patch and the beard. That was the owner of the monkey later
Oh,
in the
nice.
film. Yeah, that's why he has the beard and the eye patch, so that way it didn't look
Right.
like the same guy. But I mean, I just can't stop talking about this movie, and it's what it's got, the action. I mean, to me, it's kind of like the perfect movie in terms of a soundtrack and the action and the blend of action and the reason why the action's happening. I I can't ask for anything more. Uh, I do when I was watching it this time around, I did have a thought in my mind is that you probably had so much money that went into the effects of the final scene or of them
Mhm.
opening the ark that so obtaining the ark in Egypt, the chase, you see the plane and then the chase with the cart, all that stuff happening. That seemed like it was up here, and then when they opened the ark, it was a little bit down here. And I think it's because the effects probably at that time, that was that was the over the top, like, oh my God, look at this crap. But watching
Mhm.
it in today's day and age, I think has like I was just showing a 12-year-old the movie today, and I have a feeling that in his mind, just based on what he's used to, that after the chase scenes, once they actually have the arc, the action kind of like dies down a little bit based on how he was paying attention and like just started to like fiddle around with stuff or just like looking around. When I noticed he'd be completely glued in, but then towards the end, there was just like something that didn't keep his attention. I'm not sure what that is, but I it was the only thing I could surmise. And one final thing, the fight that Indy has in front of the plane with the giant German brawler is actually an English professional wrestler by the name of Francis Patrick Roach.
Oh, nice.
So some fun facts there. So favorite moments. I just spent a ton of time talking about my favorite moments from the film. You can name one or two.
I don't know if there's any left. I'm
I
pretty
know.
sure you just said the whole
I,
thing.
s- I f- I feel I did, and probably because it's one of my favorite films of all time that I got a little overzealous in speaking about it. But if you guys don't have if you felt like I covered that or anything else you want to add,
So I actually have two that I want to mention, and I'm taking two because well, I guess it doesn't matter now since Ozzy said several, but because one of them's not actually in the film. But first, I want to say the moment where Indy threatens to shoot the ark and they call him out, like, you're not gonna do that, bro. Like, because that was so spot on. I was like, what a great movie moment to just be like, we know, like, how many times have someone threatened, well, I'll blow it all up or whatever the case may be, and it's just like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do what you say. But when Belloc was just like, I know you're not going to do that. I remember when that first happened and feeling like Indy wouldn't shoot the ark, and then they call him out, and so I've always been a fan of that moment. But when watching it this time, um, I watched it with my wife, and she hadn't seen this film before and had a great time with it. And at one point at the end, there's a moment where Indy's upset, because they've taken the ark away and hidden it, and he comes down the stairs and he's like, "They don't know what they got." And Marion says, "Well, I know what I've got." And without missing a beat, she goes, "An appointment with Alcoholics Anonymous." And I was so proud of her in that moment. And then she offers Indy a drink, and I was just like, "Oh, that's perfect." So that was just a personal inside moment that was great for me.
that's great. Todd,
All right, well, since Ozzy did take mine, I mean, it's literally the greatest introduction to a character like almost ever.
Right.
I mean, with the opening of the film. So, I mean, there's no way I can like not pick that. It's because it's one of the greatest moments in cinema history, period. So that's
it
obviously my favorite moment.
it speaks it like you don't even need to know any particular language. You could just watch and you
Mhm.
wouldn't even you could see this dubbed in Japanese and you could still watch it over and over again because just the facial expressions and what Spielberg is showing you, it tells the story enough that you don't need to
Now,
hang on every word. So it's fantastic and has been parodied so many times.
Mhm.
The only thing though, the only caveat that I never really understood.
UHS is the best parody of it. Give it props.
Oh, UHF. Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that always puzzled me is that so Indy's running out, he has the idol of fertility, and the light hits his head, and he turns around and he sees the boulder, right? I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't he just back up a little bit, let the boulder pass him by? And then something else in my head was like, well, then he'll get trapped in the temple. Like, well, not necessarily, because there's plenty of light in there. I'm sure he could find a way out. So I don't know,
Yeah.
that's that part specifically. Like, where did the boulder come from? Like, who knows that there's not some other chamber that he could find or whatever.
Well, Ozzy,
But I
why don't
guess
you
better-
you figure out the origin of the boulder, and we'll make a special Fleshrood Patreon.
Actually,
On
there's
the boulder.
there's a perfectly good reason for it. It's because then they wouldn't be able to do that scene at Walt Disney World. So
Ah,
that's
yes.
yeah.
Actually, you know what? That reminds me. We will get the explanation for the creation of a perfect spherical boulder. It's actually coming by way of a Disney Plus series with 6 seasons. So it'll be 6 seasons, but you'll find out how the creation of the boulder. It takes place 100 years before the events of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Ozzy will make sure to watch every episode.
I'm
Now,
making fun of the Acolyte, but I actually did enjoy it. So
Oh,
I haven't
I just
watched
want
it
to
at all
clarify
yet.
that.
So, the tampering with it. Well, the good news is, as I mentioned, there is some alterations in the current version of the film. Well, thankfully, Steven Spielberg learned his lesson from E.T. and all the tampering he did with that. When he made the guns and the walkie-talkies and all that fun stuff.
Oh, right.
Well, the only thing that they did on this one is there's a shot that's always bothered him. I'm not going to hate on it. They cleaned it up. The shot with Indy with the Cobra.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember.
Oh my gosh! I think I
the
know what you're
reflection's
talking about.
gone. The
Yes.
reflection.
I was trying to tell the boy that, and I was like, in this scene, you're supposed to see. Wait a second, it's not there anymore. They must have cleaned that up. Yeah. So
They
for those
removed
that
it.
are unaware, there was a plate of glass in between the Cobra and Indy and Marion. And there's actually at one point when the Cobra actually shot Venom onto the glass. So could you imagine like just filming in that point? You know there's glass between you, but you see the Venom coming for a nanosecond. You got to be like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
This is how I die.
It's like when you go to a baseball game and you're like behind home plate, and sure, there's the net, but when that foul ball comes back at you, you're like, this is it.
Also, funny thing about the Well of the Souls scene is they had tried to acquire all sorts of snakes for that scene and try to just completely cover the area as you saw in the movie. However, they were unable to obtain that many snakes. So they actually ended up using hoses at some points and just had them blended in for the wide shots.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry.
Were you aware, Oz? This is where I'm throwing out some random stuff. Do you know anything about the Raiders fan film?
No.
There's actually a documentary on. Well, here I'm going to show you some of the footage while I talk. It's some comparison footage.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a little bit about
He's
it.
just not used to Raiders and fans.
All right. Well, so basically, the movie is called Raiders: the greatest story of the story of the greatest fan film ever made. And basically, a group of friends over the span of I don't remember how many years at this point. I believe it's decades. They basically made a shot-for-shot retelling of Raiders of the Lost Ark with their friends, and like you could see, like this is just the trailer. Someone cut it together,
yeah.
But like, yeah. So and you could literally watch like the fan film, and they just made the whole movie, and it's actually pretty cool. The documentary
That's
about
awesome.
it's really cool because I know they like finished it. Like I don't want to say if it was 10, 15, 20 years later. I don't know, but there's a big gap in between. But the whole thing. So it's actually pretty cool. Trying to see if we get some cool stuff. But yeah, so Ozzy there is a bigger Raiders fan than you. I've never actually seen the full like fan film, just the documentary, but very cool accomplishment. So I just thought I'd throw that up, see if you'd heard about it. But I do recommend the documentary that is on Tubi, Raiders: The Story of the Greatest Fan Film Ever Made. So,
This does remind me, there was a moment when I was watching it, and when I forget the name of the guy, the main bad guy with the hat and the bald, and but when he
Hot,
whipped,
TOHT.
yeah, when he has that mechanism, and everyone's like, like fearful, and it turns out to be a coat hanger, like that is such a great scene. And my wife, looking at it, was like, why don't we have that? That's great.
so I know Ozzy still keep watching the footage, but
I am.
yeah,
I am.
there's the boulder.
There we go.
And actually, at least their boulder was a little bit lower, so he was unable to escape. So he had to. He had to run. Okay, so let's get to our ratings. I mean, it shouldn't be any surprise to anybody. It is a 5 from me. If I was able to do 10, 15, 20, that is, to me, this is the perfect movie where at any time I could sit and watch and lose myself. No problem at all. I love it. 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's fun. Got a great score. It's a foundation to so much of my youth, and so yeah, 5 out of 5. Not my favorite of the indie films, but that's not knocking it in any way. It's a great film still.
Exactly the same here. Not my favorite of the indie films, but it's also still a 5. It's that good.
So I
There's
should
2 great Indiana Jones films for me. The rest are okay. One's really bad. I'll say that. There you go.
One is not really bad. It's perfectly fine.
One is a TV show that was extended into a movie. It was like Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. That was
a great series.
I was gonna say.
I know, which is fine. If Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was just an hour-long episode, no problem. But that's okay. Listen, so you had 4.
Save it for when we get to Crystal Skull, because I know it'll happen.
You know what? There's a lot of stuff that I feel about the Indiana Jones franchise that's covered in the review that Todd and I did last year of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is available on the YouTube Flesh Wound Network.
Pre-fist, huh? Right?
Pre-fist.
Yeah.
Pre-fist. Yes. We reviewed it shortly after the film came out in theaters because there was a lot of buzz about it, so to speak. But I just want to clarify something, because you two had said not my favorite of the Indiana Jones, but still good. I don't want to mislead anybody. This one is not. I wouldn't say that this one is my favorite. For me, I cannot choose, and I'm dead serious. I cannot choose between Raiders, Temple of Doom. No, it's not, because I can't. And Last Crusade. These 3 movies are all...
just won't.
Okay, yeah, I won't because I can't. There we go.
Here's the thing. Each one, it's kind of like, do you like breakfast, lunch, or dinner more? Each one is great for its purpose, like, because they're the same genre, but each one feels so different from one another because of what they're doing.
And I appreciate that each one of these 3, I won't go into the more recent 2, but each one of the 3 sets itself apart to where you don't need to watch any of the other ones to follow along.
Right.
That's why I think my mom loved these movies so much, is because she didn't need to remember anything from the other movies.
So when I was watching with Jackie, I made a comment of like Sean Connery being in one, and she was like, he was in an Indiana Jones film, and I was like, oh man, we have some stuff to watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're putting me on the spot, because I know Todd's favorite is Temple of Doom.
Well, I mean, obviously.
This has been said. This was said on the Dial.
Look at the only the dark one. It's yeah.
I'm not going to rank them, but I will say personally that I think No, I can't even say that. I cannot have the words exit my mouth of my favorite is this one.
Well,
It's
see, you can.
like I can't do it.
Like you can still rank them on your at the moment. Like at a pick, like right now, there's one you'd probably rather watch than the other. It doesn't mean that's your favorite, but at that particular moment, that's the one that's like kind of at the top. Like I have a floating like of my favorite films. It depends on my mood, so it's okay, Ozzy.
I hold the original trilogy in very high regard. I'll say that.
There you go.
9 or 10, 10, 10 across the board for me.
Do you
That's
acknowledge them?
oh, come on. Okay, now on that note, this concludes our review for Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a 5 from all of us. It is available to stream on Disney Plus right now if you do have a subscription. You're actually able, I think, to purchase the 5 films for I was able to purchase actually at that time it was just the 4. I would recommend checking out Apple TV because sometimes they'll bundle up the trilogies. Like just a couple few months ago, I bought the Back to the Future trilogy for $25 just digitally to have it downloaded on my phone. I like to have it downloaded so that way if I'm driving through a mountainous area that I can't get service, I could have the movie playing and listen to the audio of it, which is actually what I did this past Thursday when I drove to. We did give our ratings for this movie, yeah? It wasn't just me? Okay, great. I'm gonna move
I know
into
this
part
whole
two.
thing's just been about Ozzy. We understand.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You can give your
Our
rating.
longest show in a while because Ozzy has a lot to say. I still got one more thing for you, Ozzy, too. Don't let me forget.
Okay. Did you guys give your ratings or not? I
Yes.
honestly
Yeah,
can't
we
remember.
did. We all gave
Okay,
it.
all right. So this road trip, I'm going to Bakersfield and I stop at this gas station to use the bathroom. It is Fast Trip store number 619, and it's off of Union Drive. And when I get out the car, I go to the bathroom. And Todd, could you pull up the photos of this lotto vending machine here? So in this photo, you'll see a hallway, a small hallway. You see some waters on the right-hand side. Now, the interesting thing about the lottery machine that you see on the left is the machine itself is lined up, is perfectly lined up with the hallway, the wall of the hallway, which okay, fine. However, you'll notice that there is an orange metal tray that is holding blank lotto tickets. So what was happening in this particular situation is I needed to get to the bathroom that was at the end of this hallway. And where you see the waters, there's actually a second stack of waters, not in addition to what you see in this photo, because of course, while I was in the bathroom, they got rid of those waters. You had a separate stack. So you had an employee that was stacking these waters. And then I say, excuse me, I need to get by. She leans forward, and the universal language when somebody leans forward after you say excuse me means squeezing behind me. That's the deal we made so many years ago when we established a language to communicate with one another. Excuse me, oh, let me lean forward so you can go by. She didn't say anything, she just leaned forward. So I did that. And then my shorts got caught on that orange metal thing. And Todd, could you show the next picture, please? A hole in my pants, It ripped, and the hole happened. The employee heard the rip. She looked at it. She's like, oh, let me get the manager. I use the restroom. I get out, and she says, did you show the manager yet? I said, no, I didn't. She's right there. Okay, so I showed the manager, and she's standing with me at that beginning of the hallway, and she looks at me up and down, and she says, well, it looks like there's plenty of room to get by. I said, I know it appears that way now. However, you had an employee stocking waters here in this area. And I said, excuse me. And I went by her, and that's when this happened. So she says, okay, let me look at the security tape. She goes to look at the security tape, and she comes back with the store manager, separate from that, whatever. I don't care. There's a separate person that came out, and she says, okay, we reviewed the tapes. And while you did say, excuse me, you didn't give her an opportunity to move out of the way. I said, I'm sorry. She's yeah, you just said excuse me, and then you went. I was like, yeah, that's what people do. And then the store manager named Jessica, and I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that. Literally, Yessica. Her name was Jessica. She extends her arms and she proceeds to speak to me like I'm a 5-year-old and says, "Sir, this is personal space. You invaded her personal space." I literally asked her if she was kidding because I could not believe what I was hearing. I looked at her like she had feces coming out of her mouth. That is the look I had on my face. And I turned to the employee. I said, "Didn't I say excuse me?" And you lean forward. And then the store manager, Jessica, chimes in and says, "Did you feel your personal space was being invaded?" And she nods her head and says, "Yes." I was like, oh, I see. You don't want to lose $31, so you're just going to try to finagle this. Okay, cool. So that's why I took the pictures, and I just got done writing this giant letter, whatever. I just want $30 for the shorts. And then somebody moved the lotto machine.
You should have been like, leading the witness, Your Honor.
I might as well have been.
Maybe that was the world trying to tell you it's time to stop wearing the cargo shorts.
If I was wearing jeans, the same thing would have happened.
Nah, jeans would have
More durable.
it. Yeah.
You think I would have moved the machine with the jeans?
I think it
would have been a lot funnier. But I mean, can we go back to the picture with the lotto vending machines real quick, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Am I crazy? I mean, look at this thing. It's sticking out right in the area of people's hips.
Well, you know, you got the, everyone loves, hey, go get me a water from over by the pisser. I mean, that's great.
Yes. Fast Trip, known for storing waters right next to the bathroom.
Now, I do have to say, although you may be correct, it doesn't negate you being crazy. So,
right.
Hey, you know what? Doesn't need to be mutually exclusive. Yeah, I'm not there to argue that. I'm only there to argue that whoever put that machine in that spot is a complete moron who's probably related to Kevin, who works at the Bungalow Grill in Corona Del Mar, and who's a complete asshole.
Well,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, do you have anything else? Actually,
yes, I told you. I did.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
We know it's that time of year, so we got you a nice little song for you to hopefully it's to wish you luck in the season.
Oh,
so hopefully you can hear this good.
No.
Lost again on Sunday night. Black and silver just ain't right. Aussie feet can't seem to
kidding me right now?
Hoping hard or peace of mind.
Oh my God.
Fades away. Empty hopes on this display. Touchdown dreams are but a fall. In the end we lose it all. Raiders blues, I got 'em bad. Tears of sorrow crying sad. Every loss cuts deeper still. Raiders blues, I'm feeling ill.
Okay, stop it. Knock it up. Burn it. Burn it up. Burn it up right now. I swear to everything holy that I have witnessed that this earth, this planet, this world has a variation of course correction. And wow, the team that I choose to be a fan of has been less than desirable in the past few decades. I do believe in my heart of hearts that a course correction is coming, and when that comes, everybody who writes these songs like this can take all these songs and shove them so far up their ass that it'll be written on their tongues. I don't know if it doesn't make sense. I just want them to just
all right.
It even had your name, Ozzy.
What are you talking about?
You did well, it's all right. We're gonna play it out.
Fuming.
We'll play it out.
Oh, give me a break. No.
All right, Ozzy.
Okay, all right. So I guess we're done now. Anything else you guys have before we
read the lyrics as we roll out?
Okay, actually, let me do this. But last thing I will say, be hosting trivia this week, and I actually got a wrestling event happening at the Corona UFC gym happening September 7th. Okay, so we got Monday, Rush Barn Grill trivia happening at 6:30 at the Rush Barn Grill, Lake Forest. Tuesday, the Brewery in Placentia at 7:00 for free trivia, of course. And Wednesday, 7:30, Griffin's Grill, Los Alamitos. Always free to play and prizes for the top winning teams. And again, this Saturday, September 7th, at the UFC gym, 3PWA presents Home of the Brave. I will be providing my announcing, and commentary skills. And if you want to ask me about the stupidest song ever written or the stupidest manager ever worked at a restaurant, you are more than welcome to ask me at that time. Yes,
I'll make sure to get a copy of the song to the music guy.
No, do not get a copy of the song of the music guy. No, do not. No. You know how many people you're actually going to make upset? I mean, we're going to be in the Inland Empire. You know how many Raiders fans there are in the Inland Empire? I mean, come on now.
Do you know how many people are upset that they left them like they've left so many other cities?
You know how many people are upset with you right now, Greg? Give me a break.
All right. Can I play it out now?
Okay. For world famous juggler Greg Larson and Fleshman producer Todd, I'm Ozzy V. I'll see you next week right here on a brand new episode of Flesh Wound Farce.
Well, I'm playing this out.
Dang.
You can read the lyrics.
And you gotta have my TV, or you gotta have me on there as it's playing.
Yeah, you gotta hear your name.
Wait a second.
Black and silver just ain't right.
What?
Ozzy V can't seem to
what the heck?
Hoping hard.
What is this? AI? What did you guys do? What is happening? No, seriously, why does it have my name on there? Is this... What did you guys do? What? Hey, come on! It's not funny. What is happening?
There you go. We'll put it on YouTube so everyone can listen.
Why is my name in this song? Who did this song? Who did this song?
AI.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God. I've never hated AI as much as I do right now. I hate AI more than John Connor does right now. Oh my God.
All right.
Heartbreak, heavy pain does grow. Ozzy just can't let go of the dream that once was gold.
Are you kidding me?
Blues, I got 'em bad.
Oh my God.
Sorrow, crying sad.
Oh God. I thought this was somebody that just made a joke and instead you just up in AI and then this came out? Really? Yes? Who did it? Was it Greg or Todd?
I did it, man. This wasn't the first thing. The first other one wasn't there.
I thought it was just a random tongue. Oh my God.
Oh, there's more.
What do you mean? There's still more? Oh my God.
That was the break.
Just seems to grow.
Well, the lyrics.
Hearts breaking, feeling low. Lights dim and slow. Heartbreak, heavy pain does grow.
Yep. Fitted a whole new era.
Can't let go of the dream that once was gold. Layers blues, I got 'em bad. Tears of sorrow, crying sad. Every loss is deeper still. Layers blues, I'm feeling ill.
There we go. Now we hit the break.
I really want to join the resistance now. Where's John Connor? Let's get this done.
I want to map this to Clone Hero.
We'll be back next week.